Am I the astronaut for having a craving for something that makes my partner sick? I, 25 female, recently found out I was pregnant with my partner Lyle's 26 male baby. We've been together for 3 years and we live together. Lyle has ADHD, which he refuses to get treatment or medication for. He's pretty normal about 85% of the time, so I haven't really pushed it. One thing that really affects him though is sensory problems. He has a few, but the biggest one is bananas. He cannot stand the smell of a banana or the taste of a banana. He's accidentally eaten something with banana before and ran to the bathroom like a child to throw it up. If we are somewhere and someone is eating a banana, he will claim that he can smell it in the room and make us move with the threat that he will get sick. If we don't move, he will start gagging, make himself throw up, and I've seen him start shaking too. This has happened in public before and it's extremely embarrassing. I'm actually going to throw a red flag at OP right here. I'm going to throw a red flag at OP because a lot of times these personal preferences or tastes or dislikes are actually rooted by some kind of allergy, and not taking it seriously enough to be like, hey, do we need to explore this further is my first red flag. And being embarrassed by it when it's something I don't think Lyle has control of is something that seems a little rough for me. You're giving me a look like maybe I'm running the wrong direction here.
I thought we were running in the same direction, but we're running in opposite directions.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed by what he's doing too.
Okay.
I would be embarrassed. So
I right now don't feel like he has control of it. And it could be rooted in some kind of allergy. If this is purely playing something up, it's a different story. But these are possibilities that I can't ignore.
It sounds like, I don't know. I would expect something like this from my child, but at some point, like, we've got to get a handle on ourselves.
Agreed.
Maybe. I don't know. This feels weird, but let's keep going.
Anyway, let me tell you what happened. I was really tired, pregnant, and hormonal yesterday, and while I was watching my show, I had a craving for a banana, which I normally avoid when around Lyle, but pregnancy cravings are just too strong to resist. He was going to get groceries from work, so I called and asked him to get me some bananas because I was having a craving. He started begging me before he even got them to not eat them in the house, and I just got fed up and told him no, that I was carrying around his child, and the least he could do about it, since he's not the one having to nurture the damn thing in his stomach, was to get me a banana. Now, that's fair. I'd read online that this was probably the baby's way of telling me it's deficient in potassium, and that all I could really stand to eat at this point was the damn banana, and I really didn't want to deprive it of what it needs. He argued back and forth, asking me to go eat it outside at least, and out of frustration, I just started crying, which made me feel embarrassed. He finally gave in to calm me down and brought it home. I'll admit I was still really mad and upset from our argument on the phone when he came home, and I, in that moment, couldn't face getting up and going into the kitchen. When he came into the living room and sat on the couch, I asked him to peel it, cut it, and bring it to me. I really didn't think that was a big deal, but he blew up at me and told me that I knew it made him sick to even smell or touch. I told him that plenty of people have foods they don't like, and he either needs to grow up or seek help for his illness because he's acting like a child and his problem with bananas is completely abnormal. We argued a bit more and he finally got up, yelled that he was tired of my bullshit, and left the house. He hasn't been back yet. Brother, how did you miss the opportunity to yell this shit is bananas? How? I saw that coming a mile away. How did you never see it? I get his issues are a sensitive topic for him, and when I was talking to my friend about it, she said she had an autistic sister, and what I did was a bit messed up. So Reddit, am I the astronaut? Okay, now we can dive into discussion here, Tater.
Girl, you lost us all when you made him cut the banana for you. One, just eat it out of the peel like everybody else, and two, you know that he's sensitive to bananas. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't like the texture of mushrooms. They gross me out. And so I feel like I wouldn't want to go cut up somebody's like sauteed mushrooms and like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't think that you would ever expect that of me. But to do this to your partner when you know that he doesn't like him, he doesn't like the smell, he doesn't like the feeling, all of it grosses him out, that's mean. You're making him do something that you know makes him uncomfortable. And I do agree that what he's doing in public is too far. I think that's not okay. I do think that he probably needs to get a little bit more in check on that. No matter like what the issue is, I don't think doing that is okay. Because I'm not gonna like, I can't back either one of them. So ESH for me.
That's fair. And I do think that
she was shittier though. She was much shittier in what she did to him.
His shittiness was for a lack of willingness to take control of a situation that is out of control, right? That he doesn't have control of. Her shittiness came in like a vindictive form.
100%. She was intentional with her shittiness. She knew she was gonna upset him.
This was like What's the show that I refused to watch past the season 1 finale? Outlander? Was it Outlander? This was like
My
Outlander with bananas. It was like that kind of vindictive torture that she was doing to him.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up. So I agree. I agree that this is an ESH. I'm interested to hear from chat. Like, did you get the vibe that this was something that he didn't have control of or something that was a choice for him? And did OP have you until the very end when she made him peel and cut it up and basically baby bird it to her? Ladies and gentlemen, we got one of these for you. Title is, Am I the Astronaut for making my foster sister give up her seat whenever my friends go places with us? I'm 18 female, the only kid in my family that drives. I have a 16-year-old foster sister, Mackenzie, who has been here for 2 years, and a real sister, Lily, who is 8. I'm throwing a red flag here because of the use of the word real. Doesn't feel right. Both my parents work a lot, so my mom lets me use her second car to see my friends, and she asks me to drive Lily and Mackenzie places and gives me money to take them out to eat. I usually invite my friend Chloe or my boyfriend Gabe to come with us, and when they do, I make Mackenzie give them the front seat and sit in the back with Lily. She always whines that she shouldn't have to move for my friends and they should sit in the back, but she eventually gets in the back. Yesterday, we went out for lunch, and when we got to Chloe's house, Mackenzie started whining again that she didn't want to give up her seat and that it's not fair. I told her it's not fair that I'm expected to chauffeur her around to wherever she wants to go, but here we are. She went to the back and we went to get burgers. The people at the drive-thru forgot to make my burger, so they told us to wait in the front and they'll get it for me. I parked and gave Chloe and Lily their burgers so they could eat and told Mackenzie to get my burger. She said no and that it's my burger, so I should go get it myself. She refused to get out of the car, so I had to get out and wait. When we got home, I told Mackenzie off for being a disrespectful little shit and told her to stay in her room until my mom got home and took her phone and tablet.
What?
I don't know if you have that kind of authority, lady. When my mom got home, Mackenzie ran to her and cried that I was being mean to her, and my mom sided with her and said that she had a really bad home and we needed to be gentle with her, and she said that I can't drive her car until I learn to be nice to my sister, and yelled at me for taking her phone and tablet and sending her to her room. I think that since my parents, capitalize, my parents are letting Mackenzie live here, the least she could do is be respectful to me and my family. So, am I the astronaut for making my foster sister give up her seat in the car? Yeah. Edit. Also, I babysit them Mondays and Tuesdays while my parents work because I decided to wait a year before going to college, and it was either that or pay rent, so I was in charge when this happened. Yeah, there's in charge, but then there's the authority to deliver punishment, and that's a different deal. Okay, ages again. OP is 18. Mackenzie, foster sister, is 16 and has been there for 2 years. And then little sister Lily is 8. There is, should I read this other? Yeah, I'll read this other edit, and then there's an actual update. Here's another edit. Okay, I know I shouldn't have tried to make her get my burger, but she should have been more mature about it and not run crying to mommy and daddy and having to sleep in their room. And I'm seeing a lot of comments about this, so I'm going to say it here. My parents are trying to adopt Mackenzie. Edit. My parents said that they talked about my punishment and they'll tell me when they come. The mommy and daddy was in quotes too, which is up. There's a small update before that. Thoughts? Tater Rooney?
I think OP is being an asshole. Also, you're not babysitting a 16-year-old. Like, you're just the one that is driving the car. Like, in my opinion, it's not like I would tell Ava to watch Kieran because she's 5 weeks older than her. I'm not going to put her in charge.
Babysit her.
I understand there's some different dynamics here at play, but I do feel like she is being super shitty, and like, why would she have to get out of the car to go get her burger? And it sounds like she withheld Mackenzie's food until, because she gave Lily and Chloe the burger, but not Mackenzie until she went and got her food. And like, to me, that's shitty. That's just shitty. And I understand sibling behavior and arguing over the front seat. If it was just at that, I would just say that's just sibling stuff. And I would probably move my brother to the back seat so my friend could sit next to me. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I get that. But all of this adding up, like, she definitely has no respect for the fact of what her parents are trying to do with the foster child, and I'm sure it's making her life different, but communicate. And this is a teaching moment for the parents. Agreed. To say, communicate, talk to us, like, tell us what's going on. Why are you acting this way?
Agreed.
And to try to get to the bottom of it, because I do think she's acting out and taking it out on Mackenzie because maybe things are changing for her and she's not.
Which
happy
starts
with that.
a whole new line of conversation here. First of all, I think this is a Harry Potter Dursley kind of thing.
100%.
But with decent
gross.
parents who actually care and don't take Dudley's side. You know what I mean? So at least there's that side of it. Jane Owen, I really liked what you said here. And Jane said, in charge means in charge of safety, not punishment. Love that.
100%.
Yeah, you report those things to a parent who
Yes.
does have the authority
Yes.
to do that. I think that's the right way to look at it.
Yes.
Now here, back up just a hair. OP is obviously opposed to this, is obviously lashing out. In this kind of situation where you have an older child, she would have been 16 whenever they took in Mackenzie. If you're going to take in a 14-year-old and you have a 16-year-old and what it would have been like a 6-year-old at the time, how important is it for parents to have a discussion with their children about the possibility of being a foster family, about the possibility of bringing someone else into the mix here? It feels like that's something you and I would never do without having a conversation with our children first and making sure we're not bringing somebody in to a hostile environment. I don't feel like parents here did that. So chat, those of you who have been part of any kind of foster family structure, how important is that conversation for everybody in the family to be on board? Here is the small update. My parents are kicking me out because apparently my being here is negatively affecting Mackenzie's mental health and could potentially interfere with her adoption. So now I have to get a job, buy a car, and help pay for my own apartment. Okay, now what?
Okay, so maybe we understand where her overreactions are coming from, because that feels like an overreaction to me. And maybe there's context missing from the situation, but there's got to be more. Either she's leaving out something that she did that was super detrimental, or the parents overreact, which has led their daughter to believe that overreactions are a way of life. I don't know which one. I don't know which one is true, but given the way that the condescending tone of the rest of the story, I would imagine that she did something. But again, I still believe that communication is the key here, and not doing this to your family. It would be my vote in this situation.
I do think we end up here regardless. I think we end up at an ESH because everybody is shitty in their own way. And Kay Turner, to your point here, where you say, you mean being an adult? And yeah, there's being an adult, but think about it this way. If the trigger for you being told it's time for you to be an adult is the choosing of another child over you, close in age, who is not part of your family, who just showed up 2 years ago and has, in your viewpoint, like stolen your life and your parents, that's going to hurt. And you're going to carry a lot with that. Also, you've got all of this context of her being able to live at home and take a semester off to help take care of her little sister and blah, blah, blah. And all that suddenly got turned on its head, right? So there's a lot of pain associated with that. I'm not saying that she shouldn't be able to start adulting out there. That's an important part of the process, but that's not a Band-Aid you can just rip off suddenly. And I think if you're doing your job as a parent, you're helping ease your child into that process so that it's not shock. But here, like there's colliding values, there's colliding decisions, this is a mess, and they really need to talk it out in a controlled environment. So I do agree that family therapy would be a great idea here. And everybody's feeling a certain type of way. So straighten it out. Woof. Ah! Will I be the astronaut if I told my wife to get off her phone and take care of the baby?
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger!
The title basically says it all, but to add some detail, we have an 11-month-old. I work full-time. My wife stays home indefinitely taking care of the baby. That was a mutually agreed upon arrangement that couldn't work out any other way, as her income would have been less than half of mine. I would love to stay home if that were feasible. My wife seems to have a common phone addiction these days, where she will be glued to the screen for hours, either watching reels, videos, or messaging or exchanging audio messages with friends, or watching a live stream by some dickhead named Dusty Thunder. What the I'm just kidding. That last line isn't there. The last part of it is, or messaging or exchanging audio messages with friends. I have no problem with that. I'm on my phone often myself. It is what it is. That's the way most of us decompress in 2025. But I do see the difference in our ability to snap out of it. I'm on my phone in my downtime and I can drop it at a moment's notice. For example, because the baby crawled to me or there is something to do, my wife, on the other hand, tunes out completely and doesn't see or hear anything around her. I also tend to pick up my phone when work is done, the house is clean, and the baby is asleep, while she is on it in the middle of things, as we are going somewhere, getting ready, cleaning, putting the baby to sleep, etc. She is also on her phone a lot when I'm leaving for work, and it's actually time to be actively engaged with the baby, to the point where the baby might be crawling after me as I'm closing the door or running to me as I come back, which is stressing me out a lot. I also notice it a lot when I'm driving and my wife is in the back seat on baby duty, but actually completely ignoring any crying or screaming, again, to the point that I have to reach back and give a pacifier or sing a song to get the baby to calm down as I drive. She gets very defensive whenever that's brought up, either turning it into a, well, you're using your phone as well, or, well, that's for work, because she does some side projects online, which is fair, but the amount of time she spends and the money it brings is nowhere close to making it worth it, nor is it actually taking most of her time on the phone. Will I be the astronaut for calling it out and saying that she needs to at least put in 8 hours of phone-free baby time every day, and then we can split the evenings? There's an update. Before we get into the update, let's chat about this for just a second.
Was this an issue before the baby that he noticed?
That's a good question.
That would be my first question. But I mean, I understand what he's saying and I understand his side a little bit, but I do feel like the money part that he keeps bringing up, like, I don't know, there's something about it that bothers me, like him making, like saying like her job wasn't worth it. And so like she was forced to stay home, but I would love to stay home, but I'm the one who brings home all the money. And I understand that. But for me personally, staying home with the kids is different because there's multiple of us. But when I was home alone with the baby, like that was a hard place for me because I craved, I missed my job and I missed that adult interaction. And so it is easier to feel depressed if that is a hard place for you. And I'm not going to feel shame for saying that that's a hard place for me to be. And so now I work part-time and I get to have the best of both worlds and it fills my cup and it makes me a better mom. And maybe that is her issue. And maybe that is why to me, spending so much time on your phone like that, where you're tuning stuff out, feels like a depression issue. And I'm not going to shame her for that. So before I move forward, I need to hear the update.
Agreed. But also I think I agree with everything that you've said here. It is a potential sign of a depression thing. It is a potential sign of needing adult interaction and feeling like she's losing herself as only a caregiver, which is really common to do. The problem I have with hubby's approach right now, which by the way, hubby, I understand, like he probably had a similar switch flip to what I had whenever Navy Thunder was born. And that was, oh shit, this little goo is completely defenseless. And it's my job to make sure that she's safe all the time and is in this like helicopter thinking, like just high alert all the time. So he's thinking about like baby's safety and baby being cared for and somebody being there staring at the baby all the time. I understand that being the driver inside of you, right? But you are not going to be able to berate or punish someone into doing things the way that you want them to do it. Let's address that right now. You are not going to be able to do that here. Instead, if you start thinking about things solution focused, like what could you do to help? What could you do to make her feel less alone? If that's the driver here, take the time to figure out what the is, first of all, that's causing the thing that you have a problem with and actually address that, not with berating, not with telling her she has to fix things or putting in an 8-hour shift of phone-free time. Definitely do not recommend saying those words, but actually think about a solution. Put a solution in place that makes it easier for her to feel like she has adult interaction and do the things that you feel like are important without there being a collision. It is entirely possible.
I'm at a loss for this one because I understand why he's feeling the way he's feeling, but I also understand where she's at as a mom, especially if she's a first-time mom. That's a lonely spot to be in. And you guys know how I feel about postpartum and how hard that can be on women, especially when they're not prepared for post-birth. But let's read the update and find out.
Since this is getting out of hand and I can't engage with everybody, the question is framed provocatively because this sub requires a clear conflict spelled out. No, I'm not looking to police my wife's phone time. What about the 8-hour shift, man? But directionally, I'm concerned with the balance between baby needs and self-care via doom scrolling. I'm not expecting 24/7 attention on the baby from my wife or myself. That wouldn't be possible or healthy, but I do think there is a time for naps and meals and independent play and active play, plus a need for passive supervision for safety reasons and soothing as required, and the conflict seems to be in where to strike the right balance. I'm not talking about neglect. Obviously, the baby is healthy and clean and well-fed and is hitting all the milestones. That doesn't mean, though, that she is getting sufficient face-to-face time, including reading, playing, singing, being held, etc. It might be a cultural or regional norm, but I wasn't even aware that sitting in the back with the baby in the car or letting them sleep in the stroller or outside can be weird to anyone. In any case, we are in agreement about that with my wife, so that's not an issue for us. Baby is happy with it too. I don't think crying it out is a legitimate parenting approach, and my wife doesn't think that it is either, but she ends up unintentionally using it if distracted by the phone, which, when I'm there, means I need to drop anything I'm doing to tend to the baby, or if I'm not there, results potentially inconsolably crying baby, which I'm not a fan of. The issue is really about when I'm not there, so what I'm doing when I am there might make it more or less fair, but won't fix it. That's the update, which isn't really an update, it's just an elaboration, I guess. So, back to you, Take the Rooney. Thoughts?
I mean, how does he know? He said results potentially in an inconsolably crying baby.
So he's worrying about what could happen, not what is happening.
I mean, he doesn't know that that's what's happening. I mean, unless he's just watching a camera 24/7, and then if that's the case, what are you doing?
Or he's tracking screen time or something through an app. Which, if he's on high alert, right? He's on high alert for the safety of his child. That's his primary driver here. I get it. But he could be taking this too far from.
He doesn't know. And you know what? Maybe when he's home, she lets her guard down and has the ability to feel like she's not on the clock right in that moment. Obviously I don't know, but how on earth would he know that there's an inconsolably crying baby unless he's sitting at work watching her 24/7, which is in itself a problem. Like you're making an assumption based on what you see when you're with her.
Yes.
But
again, there's like extreme opposite ends here where he is. Yeah. He is like overly high alert, and if we take his account as anywhere near accurate for mom, she's under alerted because she's distracted, right? So they're on opposite ends here. No matter what, you have to approach this problem together. No matter what, find a solution, because right now you've done a really good job of focusing on problems.
Right.
What's the solution? And I don't think telling your wife that she has to commit to an 8-hour shift of phone-free time is going to go well, buddy. So what's the solution?
I mean, I do believe that phones are addictive. I think we all know that, but I think maybe some like couples therapy with the two of them communicating this with a neutral party would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because they both need to understand where each other is coming from.
Before you can find a solution, you've got to be able to communicate about it.
Yeah. But I think making assumptions are, like, unless he knows for certain that this is what's happening, making assumptions like this could be hurtful to their relationship.
I have a feeling it's more than assumptions, but he doesn't want to tell us how he knows. Because it's either checking in on cameras, like spot checking, or monitoring screen time, or, I mean, it'd be too easy for him in his heightened state of worry to not take advantage of those really easy to do things. So in that case, like, yes, you have to figure out how to find a common ground to communicate, and then it's solution focus. If it's the lack of adult interaction that is making her feel like she has to be here, because if she just does this, she feels like she's completely lost herself. Maybe there are some mom groups where she can get both at the same time, right? Maybe there are solutions for those kinds of things, but you have to be in a spot where you can talk about it together and not put all this on her. It's not just her. It's you guys as a team that are experiencing this and that need to overcome this.
Yeah. I mean, I see issues on both sides, so I do think it's an ESH for me.
I would agree.
And I was right with my first guess. Just kidding.
She's like, I was right with my first guess, so you, Tony Spark. Y'all. It is complicated no matter what, right? It's complicated and it's tough. And I think when you become a parent, like after that point of parents here understand, it's like it's really easy to lose yourself.
My back is sweating because that story made me uncomfortable.
My boyfriend admitted he orchestrated our meet cute. Trigger warning, stalking. Joe Goldberg happens to be the...
I thought this was a happy story. Oh no.
I have no idea how I feel about what he told me. I want to think it's cute that he cared this much, but it's just coming off as creepy and I feel lied to. He got drunk because we were celebrating my first successful day at my clinicals, and he ended up saying something along the lines of, "Could you believe we wouldn't be this happy if I hadn't watched you for so long?" Okay. To which I was confused and didn't know what he meant. Well, I had worked at a local library for 2 years before we met during college, and apparently he saw me there but didn't actually talk to me. He would just watch me and listen in on my conversations with the people I was checking and my coworkers to figure out what I liked. Then he apparently followed me and found the coffee shop I frequented.
Oh, no.
All this time, I thought we had a sweet first-time meeting story. He accidentally bumped into me, apologized, and offered to buy me a coffee for the trouble. Wait a second. This is what's-his-face from Love Island. This is Austin. Didn't he say that was his move? He goes up and knocks the girl's drink over so that he'll buy her a new one?
Yeah, but I think he might have just met her. I don't think he was doing
Yeah,
this.
no. This is the stalker version of that move. He told me what he was ordering, and it was the exact same thing I always get. And I thought it was an amazing coincidence. I joked that it was fate, and we spent like an hour talking over coffee. I feel so stupid. Apparently, it was similar to a scene in a book that I had read and told my coworker I had thought was cute. Okay, there are like so many layers to the creepiness now. It's like well-documented intel, aka stalking. I'm just so frustrated. Like, why would you do this? And how much of our 1.5-year relationship is a lie? Update, I was wrong. My boyfriend didn't do anything wrong. There is another update. Before we get into that, let's chat for a second. I had to give you that one because it was one line.
What? I was wrong. My boyfriend didn't do anything wrong. Did he tell you to type that?
If he didn't do anything wrong, why?
Is this creepy or is he doing homework? Because I find this kind of creepy. Like, if you want to meet somebody, just meet them. But he did all these things. Like, he found out what books she likes and the parts of the books that she likes. Like, I would feel weird if somebody knew that about me before I released that information to them specifically.
And crafted their meet cute around the scene in the book that she liked and already knew her exact coffee order at the time. And like, this was.
And then the update makes it feel really weird.
This was well prepared.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
The next update, here we go. I gotta have red flags on. Red lights. There we go. Update 2. Hey everyone, I know a lot of you have been worried about me and I just wanted to let all of you know that I'm safe. Shit has definitely hit the fan, but at the moment, I'm safe. First, no, I didn't make that last update.
Oh my God.
My boyfriend went on my phone while I was showering and trying to figure out what I wanted to say to him about everything, and he found and edited my post. Well, at least it didn't look sus.
My boyfriend didn't do anything wrong.
He then started yelling at me while I was still in the shower about sharing it online and calling him creepy. At the same time, he was guilt-tripping me and telling me that it was romantic, and he did it because he loved me. He literally read a few of the comments out loud to me. He barely let me out of the shower, but I did manage to get my clothes on while he was screaming at me. What really freaked me out was that he started listing off things he could have done to me. I won't list them here because it was extremely gruesome and I don't think it's allowed, but he said that he didn't do those things because he's such a nice guy. Oh, well, hell.
What the dude?
The way he described the things he could have done made me feel like he had genuinely considered doing it. Also, I thought he was only watching me for a few months. Apparently, it was upwards of a year, and it was genuine, actual stalking. He had followed me home and to my college campus, and he pulled out a collection of my lost hair ties that he kept. I told him that he was scaring me and that we needed to take a break and come back to it later. At that point, he put a hole in the wall next to my head. I told him that I was leaving after that because that shit, and it was like a switch flipped and he started crying. He got on his knees and begged me to stay and apologized. I ended up accepting his apology because I didn't feel safe leaving. Yesterday morning, after he had left for work, I grabbed all of my important documents and irreplaceable things before my clinicals started and kept them in my car. Oh shit, all this happening while she's doing her clinicals. After my clinical, I didn't go back to the apartment. I'm not gonna give much more detail than that because he does know my account. And for Andrew, if you're reading this, which we both know you are, please just leave me alone. The person I thought I loved doesn't actually exist, and that's heartbreaking. I no longer feel safe with you like I did before, and I hate that. Please, let's just move on from each other. And that is the end. How long ago was this posted? It's all been deleted? Because he freaking deleted it.
This is not okay. And this is why you don't follow people around and then try to pretend like you're their perfect person. Like, this is built on a bed of lies, and you cannot. Like, this is what the.
Okay, so
I hope that I hope that she never saw him again. Like, I hope that he's gone. But what you must feel on the inside, having someone do this to you, manipulate you in this way, is like up beyond anything.
So, okay, if anybody here ever found out that their significant other had planned something or watched for a while, so it feels like in this instance, it's like as soon as she found out, she should have assumed the worst and left or made sure that she was not alone with him in any way, shape, or form, and not alone, period. And that's like moving forward for me is like, hey, make sure you are not alone. You need to be guarded at all times right now. Probably gonna have to move, probably gonna have to change your freaking name. You're gonna have to go. If he stalked you once, what makes you think he's not gonna pursue you now?
Why people think that they're entitled to someone else is something is wrong with you if you think that you are entitled to another person's presence in your life. You don't. The fixation on a person that you think you're supposed to have, because that's the vibe that I get from people that do this. This is mine. I'm supposed to have this, and I'm going to do everything in my power to obtain this thing.
And if I can't have it, no one can.
It's not about a person. It's not about who they are on the inside. It's about, I see this thing, I want this thing, and I'm going to get this thing, and I'm going to do whatever up thing I have to do to obtain it. And that to me is someone who is not okay. They are not well. They are not like this. Making this woman feel safe, making any woman feel unsafe like this. And if a woman does this to a man, like, this is not okay. This is not okay to do to people. This is not okay to make people, because you are messing with the rest of their life. You are messing with the trust that they have in other human beings on this planet for the rest of their life. And you are a up individual to do this to someone.
You obviously have enough for an immediate RO, I would think. Even if it's a temporary order of protection, like you have enough for that now. But those only matter for people who are willing to follow the law, right? So how long ago did you say it was posted, Tony Spark? 8 days? The safest thing for her to do right now is probably to go dark, because can't put herself on the radar. Because if he stalked her once, would do it again and knows even more about her now. So if you know somebody in a situation like this, like, help protect them. But how do you help protect them without giving them away? This is so complicated. It is up. Am I the astronaut for breaking up my friend group over a cake? No. Let me preface this by saying I know this is going to bring a variety of answers. I, a 32 female, have a best friend, also 32 female, who I've known since high school. For now, let's call her Jane. We've been super connected to one another, to the point where we're going to college, we were roommates, and have even double dated before. She's quite literally been my sister from another mister. Although I got married a few years before her, she's the one who has had success getting pregnant. I won't lie, I've been a little bit jealous, but every pregnancy I've supported her. She's currently pregnant with her third child, and I was one of the people helping with the baby shower. Here's the part where I did indeed mess up. When I went to grab the cake for the party, I didn't check to see if it was the right cake. It had my name on it, so both the front counter and myself thought it was the correct cake. So I take it to the party and everybody's having a good time until they open the box for the cake. It felt like the whole room went silent as the cake read, "Happy Retirement, Jane," instead of the cutesy baby shower saying we came up with. My immediate reaction was to start apologizing, but I could tell it didn't really help as she started to burst into tears. Time out! The cake people had this as your order and handed it to you, right? Hold on, unless these people have the same name. Yes, it was another Jane. But isn't it standard protocol for a cake shop to be like, here it is, look good, okay, boop. And they do that like for cookie cakes and stuff. I can't imagine they wouldn't do that. I didn't expect her to react the way she did. She was hysterical, it seemed, to the point where her mother took her outside to get some fresh air. Of course, all of our mutual friends and her family were staring daggers at me, and I felt like the worst friend ever. I decided to try and make it up to her by calling the bakery to see if they still had the correct cake so I could run and grab it before the party was completely ruined. While I was outside on the phone, I overheard through the fence Jane speaking with her mother saying, "Why does she have to ruin my day just because she can't have a baby?"
Oh my.
Okay. Her mom told her not to say things like that, but the damage was already done. I couldn't believe she said something like that, especially since she knows how much my husband and I have been trying to conceive. I could barely hold myself together as I went back into the house to grab my keys. One of our mutual friends, let's call her Heather, was one of the few who was initially on my side asking where I was going. I just told her I couldn't stay any longer and would explain later. So I went back home, turned off my phone, and waited till my husband came home to vent to him. When I turned on my phone the next morning, I had a ton of messages on my phone from all of our friends and her family, including Jane herself, herself asking me where I had gone. The first person I messaged back was Jane because I still felt like she deserved at least the respect of knowing why I was upset. I told her everything, and her response was that she was hormonal and she didn't mean it when she said it. I told her it still hurt a lot and that I needed time to cool off. I later messaged a few other close friends and explained what happened, including Heather. Now, within less than 48 hours, this whole thing is blown up. Half of our friends are siding with Jane, saying that I should have just forgiven her because she's pregnant and all these things about hormones and saying things you don't mean. Then the other half of our friends side with me and say that I should send a message to her that this type of behavior is not okay. Now I'm torn because on one hand, yes, I'm very hurt by what she said, and I feel like I should distance myself at least for a little bit. I understand being hormonal, but you still have some free will. Then the other part of me that's non-confrontational just wants to diffuse everything by forgiving her. At this point, I've silenced my phone because our group chats keep blowing up and I don't feel ready to handle all of it. So, am I the astronaut? My advice right now, take a nap. Check out of this. Like, trying to process all this information and make a decision when you're completely overwhelmed is no bueno. I'm not saying run from it, but you can check out of this for a little while.
Yeah, I feel like, this was a mistake.
You feel like the cake thing was a mistake.
The cake was a mistake. I think saying what she said, that was over the top. And I understand that was a reaction to the situation, but that was a shitty reaction. And yes, you're pregnant, and yes, hormones do make you shittier. But at the end of the day, and we just said this earlier, you're still responsible for your actions. And your actions were that you blamed your best friend for bringing you the wrong cake because she can't have a baby, and that's f***ed up.
Yep.
Like, you have to answer for that, even though you're pregnant. Those are still things that you did, and that was a shitty thing to do. So you need to apologize for what you said. And as your friend is going through it, like, fertility is hard. And yeah, I'm sure she's jealous that you're pregnant, but to think that your friend would do this to you, be spiteful, like that, you're assuming a lot of shit in that moment. Cake is cake. Eat the cake. And like,
it doesn't matter what it says.
It doesn't
it's
matter.
Gonna taste the same.
Yeah.
And the cake shop up. You didn't. I think the onus is on them to show you the cake and make sure it's right, no matter what. And that's one of the benefits of them doing that. Yeah. I went back and looked just to see if Jane actually did respond, because she said something, but what she said was she was hormonal and didn't mean it when she said it. That is not an apology. That is an excuse. And no matter what is driving your behavior, it's still your behavior.
Yeah. 100%.
There's still your words to own. There was never an apology in here. And I feel like it crossed a major line, and it deserves an apology, which begs the question. You're torn right now, 50-50. Mm-hmm. The part of you that wants to just keep the peace and forgive her is the part of you that has allowed you to I think you lose a little piece of yourself every time you do this, right? To just keep the peace and
yes,
silence a part of yourself.
Yes.
Are you willing to do that?
I just had this conversation with one of our girls and said, like, every time you make it okay and you tell yourself that you're okay, you make it okay for people to treat you like that and it be okay. You teach them how to treat you. And I think that she is owed a genuine apology for what happened. And she apologized for the cake. And I get it. It was like, it's a mistake. It happens, like, whatever. But
like, it was intentional.
That to me says that my friend, and this is obviously my opinion, but like, being hormonal and pregnant makes you less, like, filterless. And
so that's what she really thinks.
And I just wonder if it just dropped that,
and maybe that's
barrier that you normally have.
She made the excuse and said she was hormonal and didn't really mean it.
Yeah.
There needs to be a deeper conversation there to get to the bottom of that and figure out if she really feels that way.
I would want to know, if the roles were reversed, would this friend give her the same grace that she's expecting to be given? And that would be what I would ask my friend.
Yeah.
Because that's a very nasty thing to say about somebody.
And again, I do think I just saw Beyond's coming up here. That's literally the best advice: shower, nap, have a snack, and a bottle of water. Come back to it later, because there's so much going on here, and because you're conflicted, you need time to work this problem in the back of your mind as well. And I would recommend actually writing down how you feel right now. Write it down, so that you have a record of it, because it's going to change. And then after you have this refresh, come back and read that and respond to it with how you feel now. And if that's any different, why, right? I think that would be a good way to kind of track how your feelings are progressing on this, and to come at it with a fresh set of eyes. I think it is a damn good idea. It's an awkward situation. It's complex.
Yep.
It's not your fault. Here we go. This story is from Relationship Advice and is titled, I, 28 female, think a nap ruined my marriage to 30 male.
Maybe.
I am 28 female, married to 30 male. I'll probably delete this in the morning, but I need to scream into the void. I've been married for under a year, but with my husband for 6. We have a 3-month-old little girl who's fantastic. I'm a first-time mom who's a stay-at-home mom. My husband works from home. My husband's not dumb, just emotionally inept sometimes. I've had a lot of resentment building since I was pregnant. His mom tormented me through my pregnancy by talking about miscarriages, stillbirths, and saying dead baby to me every time my husband wasn't around. What the fuck? She denied. He sympathized with me, but nothing was truly ever done. I'd be like, wear this microphone, and I'll record that shit. Since I gave birth, my husband has just been clueless. When I was there recovering, he would go home and sleep and leave me all alone because the couch was uncomfortable. I had to call him 20 times to get him to wake up and come back to the hospital because I was lonely. Then when we left, he was asking me to carry things to the car with him. What? The nurse had to tell him I shouldn't be carrying anything because I had just given birth. I was like, well, you were carrying a baby for 9 months, but you just put it down. You aren't carrying anything now. When we got home, he complained about his lack of sleep. I was struggling learning how to nurse. He was my cheerleader through nursing. I have to give him credit there. As the first 2 months went by, I was consistently bawling about how sleep deprived I was while he was getting 8 to 10 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. It caused a lot of fights because I couldn't hear him tell me he was exhausted without having a meltdown. Then his mom would come over and they'd leave a huge mess for me to clean on more than one occasion. And you know, that bee did it on purpose. He complained about the basement being messy, so I helped him lift things and clean it up. It caused me to start bleeding heavily, and my doctor told me I shouldn't be lifting anything heavy. This is a point of contention because my husband continuously asked me to help him lift heavy things and I couldn't, so he would get annoyed. Then he would complain about it all day.
Oh my gosh.
Now we're at month 3, and I think my marriage is over. We've been distant ever since the baby arrived, and I haven't wanted to have sex or be affectionate. Husband has been asking if I'm all right a lot, and I'd say I'm fine. I don't know what else to say, but I feel miserable and tense up every time he walks into the same room as me. Today, he was on my case about walking our dog. I'm so exhausted from exclusively breastfeeding, and I don't have the energy to walk her. I had been up since 2:30 a.m. with my baby and just couldn't handle anything else on my plate. So he whined and moaned about doing it, but promised me I could nap. I snapped and reminded him that I haven't slept a full 8 hours in months. He got pissy and stormed off. He avoided me the entire day and locked himself in his office. I spent the rest of the day randomly breaking down in full-blown sobs because I was so tired. 11 p.m. hits and he hasn't come out of his office, so I finally broke and went to get him. He gives me the cold shoulder and I just break down. All the lack of support just broke me. I told him I hated him. I wish I could go home, and I even mentioned divorce. He calmed me down and apologized for being selfish. When I asked what he did all day, he said he napped. He napped the whole day. While I was struggling to keep myself standing, he was napping. I broke down. I cried and cried. He was apologetic and showering me in I'm sorries and I love yous. For the first time ever, I couldn't tell him I loved him too. Now it's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep because I'm so distraught. He's snoring next to me and I just hate him right now. I want to take my baby and run away. I don't want to live here anymore. Being a single mom seems easier than dealing with all of this emotional stress and neglect. What am I supposed to do? I just can't believe I'm ready to leave him all because he took a nap. Well, okay, before we get into the update, let's go ahead and expand on that statement right now. You are not wanting to leave him all because he took a nap, okay? The nap was the straw that broke the camel's back. The nap was the trigger point, the boil over point. The nap was it's not the nap.
No, I think it might have been the 3 months of 8 to 10 hours of uninterrupted sleep where he didn't care at all that you weren't sleeping. The audacity to go into an office and shut yourself in and nap when you know that your partner is running on fumes is the most selfish thing you could do as a parent, in my opinion, because it is so hard those first few months when they don't sleep long periods of time, and sleep deprivation, it takes a toll on your soul. It hurts. And
that's how they make Horcruxes.
And for him to just be like, well, I just napped all day. I had nothing better to do. I couldn't possibly come in there and help you parent. I just had to nap all day.
Yeah, okay. Stop there for a second, because I want to back this up a little bit. We don't get any mention of him doing a damn thing to help parent.
No, just bitching about her not lifting heavy things.
And not going and walking the dog. She said he's emotionally inept. He's not dumb. Girl, I think he might be dumb. There's no way
Right.
that any logic grounded person, this is not emotional intelligence or lack of, this is just lack of intelligence, period.
Yeah, this is like find your brain and use it,
Yeah.
because this is your family's going to fall apart because you're not lifting a finger to help and do anything, and you're just bitching whenever you don't get what you want. Like that's a really shitty situation
And
to be in 3 months.
I think we know how he got there and how he's staying here.
His mom.
Because his mom was saying shit like dead baby every time he wasn't around just to try to freak her out. This is not okay.
Yeah.
You ready for update?
Yep.
Update! So we talked. Well, I talked. He listened. I told him I couldn't do this anymore and something needed to change immediately or I was going to go back home and take my baby with me. He stared at me, confused, but then he realized I had 2 bags packed by my dresser and ready to leave. And he's confused at this point. I was finally able to articulate all of the resentment that had been building. His mom's cruel and careless behavior, feeling abandoned at the hospital and now at home. It feels like everything falls onto me so he can bring a paycheck home. I realized after saying all of this, I hadn't really told him how I was feeling, but just continued to bottle it up. He was defensive at first, and I gave him one warning that if this conversation was filled with excuses, I'm walking out. So he stopped and truly listened. He was genuinely remorseful. He only said sorry once at the end, and he meant it. Then he started asking me what I needed him to do. We made a plan, and I finally feel like I can breathe a little easier. He has dog walks handled indefinitely. Mother-in-law is banned from the house and is to have no contact with me or my baby. Once my husband's off work, I'm off duty for the day. I will still breastfeed because I want to do that. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it, and if you saw the way my baby pats my boob when she nurses, you would too. Her big hazel eyes are like a drug. I'm typing this while soaking in a warm bath. I've been promised the weekend to decompress and sleep until my heart's content. I'll pump instead of nurse this weekend, and we have a stash of frozen milk he is planning on using. He knows what needs to be done, her routine, how much to feed her, so I know he's capable. I can actually hear him unloading the dishwasher right now. We are planning on doing something as a couple one day out of each weekend, so I don't just feel like a mom. I can be a person, too. We're going to go to couples counseling, and I'm going to start individual therapy. He's already in therapy. He didn't have a dad who showed him what love looked like. He had an adult toddler as a father who threw tantrums and verbally abused him and his mother. My husband often comments on how my dad drops everything in a nanosecond for me and how he wants to be like that.
He said that kind of shit before all this?
But he's not. He's failing me and his daughter. That was really tough for him to hear. So now we take it day by day. If he's actually capable of change, I'll have to wait and see. My bags are still packed and by the door. I guess I have them there as a reminder to myself that leaving is an option at any moment I please. That makes me feel a little bit better. I'm hopeful, but not delusional. I know we might not be able to come back from this, and that's okay. I have to take care of myself so my little girl has a mama who smiles at things besides her. I have an appointment scheduled for a PPD screening, and my mom's planning on visiting the start of next month. My family is ready with their door wide open when I choose to come home. It made me cry to hear that my dad tell me he'll be on the first flight when I'm ready so I don't have to fly home alone. Thank you all for letting me spill my guts. There's another update, but before we get into that, let's chat about this update. Here's my fear. Yes, he finally heard her. He finally said he would change these things. He's finally doing things until Mama gets a hold of him. And then what?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting him to hear her out. I wasn't expecting him to be as receptive in that conversation as he was. So I feel like that's progress. But like you said, I would need to see continued progress, and continually showing up in our lives to be a part of it and not just letting me do everything and napping.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I get that. And I do think a lot of situations are like she said, he had a father who was an adult toddler who just threw tantrums to get whatever he wanted and berated. And I'm not sure if his mom put up with that, but that's what he had as a role model. And that's also what he had as trauma in his life. And so I think I'm hopeful that they can work through this together. That's where I'm at right now. But
His willingness to ban mother-in-law
yes,
is hopeful.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a big step, but she obviously has control over him to a degree, and he's got to be able to withstand that for this to stick.
I wonder if mother-in-law just made excuses for father-in-law
Possible.
and made it okay for what he was doing. And this is what OP knows. And I think a lot of stuff, that we do comes from within based on what the trauma that we have and
Right.
what that looks like in our life. And we're, like you say, we're all individuals. And so it's all, you never know what
It's all
somebody,
complicated.
yeah, you never know what somebody how their life went and what brought them to this point that they're at and what makes them the flaws that we have, where those come from. So I'm hopeful that he can fix what he's doing to his family right now.
And Dr. Sweets, to your point, said, I think going no contact with mom is a sign that mom doesn't have a very strong hold on him. I hope that's the case. But what she was able to do under his watch before makes me really hesitant to say that he has the power to withstand her. And she's probably really good at manipulating him. All right, we'll start off the update here, which is the last update, I think. Update 6/4/2025. I have been wanting to update, but have been scared. I felt so overwhelmed and haven't been sure what to write. That post I wrote was me at my lowest. I wish I could take that version of me in time and just hug her. I was broken down and I needed someone to be real with me. Those comments felt like a slap in the face and way too much to handle all at once, so I needed time to read through and digest it all. Thank you, everyone. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety shortly after I made my post. Thank you to the people who pushed me to talk to my doctor. Thank you. My life has improved tenfold after getting proper treatment. I feel like in normal updates, people dive into their lives and the details of what's happened. I don't want to do that. I want to say something that's more important than me and my life. To the new moms and their loved ones, if you or anyone you know has just had a baby, check in on them. If you just had a baby, make sure you have someone who's tuned in to you. Although you have brought new life into the world and it should be joyous, you are allowed to feel whatever you feel. Please, even if you feel fine, prioritize your mental health and well-being because your baby depends on you to be healthy so they can be healthy. What you are going through is valid and important, and you need someone to look out for you. While you look out for the baby, someone needs to look out for you with the same love and care. As for me, my life has turned around. Taking care of myself was what I needed. I knew people told me to leave my husband and how horrible he is, and like every other excuse post, you don't understand because you're not living it. I'm happy, safe, and healthy, but most importantly, my daughter is thriving. It took a lot of work, and it will continue to take a lot more. I love my husband. He has shown through time that he can be reliable and has not faltered. I really thought he would fail and was expecting it most days, but he hasn't. He actually turned it around, and that feels better than winning the lottery. I guess people can change when they really want to, can't they? I could go on and on, but things are better. My daughter's happy and healthy. She's feisty like me, and nothing's going to stop her. She loves her daddy as much as I do, sometimes more. And now with a clear head, I can see that things are okay because we have and continue to learn how to communicate with one another. If I could pass anything on, check on your loved ones. Sometimes they don't even know how hard they're struggling until you pull the wool from over their eyes. Thank you to everyone. Posting was the push I needed to get help. Hot damn. There are some relevant comments that I'll read here. Okay, one relevant comment. Commenter asks OP if husband apologized. OP says, yes, he has. He continues to and has acknowledged how his selfishness came at my expense in the most vulnerable time of my life. It's a shame that follows him and he asks randomly if I really do forgive him. It's uncomfortable to see how awful he feels about what has happened because all I want to say is it's okay. But we both know it's not and never will be. So it's icky knowing he's going to live with that, but I also know it's for the best. Wow.
That was a good update.
That was
made me a little
fantastic,
a little stingy,
update.
Spicy in the eyes. And what she said to, to loved ones and new moms, like checking on them and making sure that they're okay. Like I see so many comments that say, like, I never had PPD or I never had issues with when I'm pregnant. And I think those comments, while intended to, I don't know what the they're intending to do because I think those comments make way for people to criticize moms who have postpartum depression and who have those troubles and who struggle after giving birth. Or struggle with pregnancy.
For the moms who are feeling that to feel less like they can.
Yes, exactly. And I think when you say that, like you minimize the fact that it is hard to bring a life into this world. It is hard to take care of a child when you bring life into this world. And I'm not crying for myself. I'm crying because I'm happy for OP that she recognizes that and she sees that. And I think if the world saw that, it would be things would be different. And I think so when, the next time that you go to criticize someone for having PPD or having struggles with pregnancy, realize that because your journey was different and this person is struggling, like when you say those things, you are opening it up for, and I'm not calling all men out, but you are opening that door for men to criticize us, to criticize moms, criticize women who bring life into this world. And I think that you should know that. And I'm so happy that OP got the help that she needed. And I'm so happy that she figured it out. And I'm so happy that their family is together.
Yeah.
Because I think that's
best case scenario.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, my voice is all cracky. But it is very complicated, and it is very tricky, and it is very mentally hard. And I think that I have a very loving husband and someone who understands me, but
most of the time.
Yeah. I will say that he can never truly understand what it feels like on the other side of that. He can never truly understand what it's like to go through that and, truly understand what it's like to give birth. And we are privileged to be able to experience that. But it's also a burden that we carry because people want to criticize and demean and not understand it. And it just, for a woman to realize it, to see it, and to come out on the other side with her family intact is a win in my book, and a great way to end this life.
And you think about, what happens at that year one. Like, you've got to go through some shit. You got to walk through some fires to figure out how to troubleshoot with your partner and communicate. And then that's how you learn to communicate with your partner. And it sets up the foundation for a successful relationship later on. This was like a year one thing for them. He was oblivious and was just like, I'm doing everything right, until she was able to communicate to him, until she was able to understand it and then communicate it to him. And he really stopped in his tracks and listened. And then they were able to communicate. Until then, it wasn't really real communication. They weren't able to express their feelings. They weren't able to hear each other. They weren't able to have a two-way conversation. And now they can. And that's huge. And yeah, you know what? During the time where you're learning how to do that, which means a lot of shit is going on, it feels like everything's falling apart and you don't know if it's going to make it. But then you gain that skill, then you gain them skills and everything gets better. You know what I mean? You gain the skill of being able to communicate with your partner and things start turning the corner. So, hell of an update. Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.